Hi and welcome to BCS Careers Inspiration, where we introduce you to a range of different people working in technology and find out a bit about their background, how they got into their job and what they do. So today I'm joined by Krupali, who is a portfolio manager in the retail sector, and we'll just have a chat for around 10 or 15 minutes and find out some information from her. So hi Krupali, thanks for joining us today.
Hello.
Hi, the first question really will be great to just find out a bit about what's involved in your job as a portfolio manager and what you kind of do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so my job varies quite a bit, but kind of the main aspects of it is actually managing and preparing the reports, exec reports for the exec team, and kind of our directorship level as well. Maintaining like a single view of all the projects in our portfolio, so all the change activity that's happening across the company, escalating kind of any risk issues, dependencies that pop up that we kind of see being a constraint. Also, we help with the business planning and the financial planning and work through a governance cycle. So I'm kind of the main contact for stakeholders in the company to come to and put through their governance papers through, making sure I assure them and actually assure them to a level so that we approve it against our budgets and make sure we actually have enough money in the pot.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's really important. And can you give us an example of something that you're working on currently at the moment?
Yeah, something I'm actually quite, I'm going to geek out here. I'm quite excited about is automating our way of reporting. So currently, it's quite manual. We use Excel and Google Sheets to actually pull through some of the formulas. But recently, I've discovered Data Studio, which is like a Google kind of Data Studio automated tool where we can upload all the information and it does these fancy graphs for you. It's very dynamic. So it basically is a point in time. It's not a point in time as we do at the moment with slides or PowerPoint, but it's actually a dynamic point in time. So you can change some of the metrics to give you there and then. So it'd be really, really good if the exec team or the directorship actually use that in their meetings, but I think we've still got a long way to go.
But that sounds like a really good tool though, because I guess you can look at what would happen if this happened or in different scenarios and kind of look at what the different outcomes would be.
Yeah, definitely. So for example, if you approved a project and it was way over the budget, what would happen to the rest of the portfolio and what would we need to say no to, which is a big part of our process as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's really interesting. And it would be great to find out about how you kind of got into this type of work. Is project and portfolio something you've always wanted to do, or how did you kind of get into the role you're doing today?
Okay, so I'm going to rewind quite a bit back. I actually come from one of the poorest boroughs in London, and I really worked hard for my GCSEs, but I kind of went the other way in my A levels. So I don't know what happened. I think it was a big jump from GCSEs to A levels, and I didn't get the grades that I wanted, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I ended up going through clearing actually for a university, and then ended up going through to City University to do a computing course, which I absolutely loved. And in the end, got a first class degree, which I was really, really proud of because I really, really flopped on my A level. So I guess one of the things I would say is like, even though sometimes it's kind of a struggle, I think overcome the obstacle and just really push yourself. I then got the job before I even got my degree results. So I got the job in the retail sector and I've moved around. So I've moved from like being a trainee analyst, which is going through resource stats, to being a project manager. So I have been a project manager before. And then I really found my niche in PMO when I was given that opportunity. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting because you have a broader set of skills that you need to use. But I guess where I found my footing was the portfolio side of things, which is actually looking at the broader picture. So looking at programs and projects that come along and actually analysing how the change activity will be landing in the future and in the future years, and kind of how it impacts your budget, the risk issues and dependencies. So that's where really I found my feet, and hopefully it will kind of progress going forward.
Mm. Oh, I really like the story about the A levels and then going through clearing. You mentioned that you chose to do your degree in computing. I just wanted to ask you what kind of attracted you to take that subject and what you enjoyed about it.
What attracted me to take that subject? And that was where I got my highest result in A levels. So,
Is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I got my highest result in A levels. And actually, I did a typing course at GCSEs, and I really loved it. And I thought actually it might be something for the future. But one of the things I've struggled with was I was the only female, or one of the few females in my computing course. So it was really difficult to kind of find a role model or someone to aspire to. But I think for everyone, I think you just still need to push through and just discover the skills that you want to use. And it's useful anyhow. I didn't like coding at university, but I use it today and I really enjoy it. So sometimes it really depends on the experience that you have.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's really interesting insight and leads nicely onto the next question, actually, which is the kind of your favorite bits of what you do now. So what kind of gets you out of bed in the morning and looking forward to another day of work?
Apart from like geeking out on a data studio, I think one of the things that I really, really enjoy is the stakeholder management. I'm an extrovert, so I really enjoy talking to people. I know it's really difficult during the pandemic right now, but I speak to different stakeholders on a day-to-day basis, make sure that their projects are going through, make sure any of the approvals are recorded, and then obviously the reporting side of things as well, speak to senior stakeholders and get their insight into it and their experience. So I think that's what really, really excites me, and that's the bit I really enjoy, and hence the portfolio manager role, because you've got that vast skill set that you need, but definitely the stakeholder management piece.
That's great, thank you. And then it would be great to find out about your typical working pattern. So do you normally do a sort of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then also a bit about your interests outside of work as well?
Yeah, so yes, I typically do a 9 to 5 role, but actually they're quite flexible. So if you kind of wake up early and just get on with some work, you're able to kind of leave early and maybe do some work later, just depending on how it is. I guess when it was really, really hot, I wasn't able to do it during the afternoon. So later on in the evenings, I would actually do some work. So they're really, really flexible. So it's really good in that sense. In terms of interests outside of work, I have a lot. During work, I'm part of the diversity and inclusion committee. So I really enjoy kind of pushing those boundaries. But I used to, before the pandemic, unfortunately, I used to run a computer club at our workplace, and it was kind of 100 or so children coming to actually learn coding. I can only do the basics, so I had other people doing the advanced stuff. But I really, really enjoyed that, so I'm hoping that starts up again maybe next year.
That's really cool, and exactly like what you were saying about looking for, when you were studying, looking for female role models. So putting on stuff like that, I guess, helps you to be that person for some younger people as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and also it actually teaches me a lot. It's actually the other way around sometimes. Reverse mentoring. It's like what's happening nowadays in society and kind of what's important. But yeah, it's really interesting.
That's brilliant, thanks. And then the last point really to cover is either tips for anyone who would be interested in following a sort of similar path to you, or a piece of advice that you wish you could have given yourself, looking back a few years, I wish someone had have told me this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really I look back on now is kind of the A-level period. And I always say to myself, and I would say to all the students out there at the moment, because of all the fiasco that's happening, is that failure is okay. You can overcome that obstacle and still make it. So don't kind of get hooked up on that. Also, I would really emphasize on having experience outside of like your A levels and your university. So I did like a gap year where I did experience in a real kind of life company, And that has really, really helped me in my job today. So I wouldn't just kind of do your academic side of things. I really put that experience to heart, and it really pushes you. And I can tell you, your academic career is very different to your real life working. Nothing prepares you for it.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think, you have an idea when you're in education of the different jobs that you might do, and 90% of the time you end up doing something very different to what you predicted. So definitely kind of gaining as much experience as you can and finding out about all the different opportunities that are out there so you can make the best choice for yourself is a really good tip.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Krupali, for joining us. That's some really, really good information and insight, which I'm sure will help lots of our viewers very much. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.